Yeah, okay, time to live free. Plenty goals I'm achieving. Some real life topics and talking financial freedom. Mindset, soul and love, everything in between. This is Freedom Podcast. Tune in, live free. Hey, got my mindset right and I got the drive. Planning one day, no more job, no more 9 to 5. Love, money, mind. Love, money, mind. This is Freedom. Tune in, cause it's going down. Woo!
Hi, this is Anna Davidson, and welcome to another episode of your Freedom Podcast. In this episode, I interview Mitali Deypurkaystha. She's a copywriter and ghostwriter, and she's also known as the authority creator. She helps coaches and consultants turn into sought-after experts in their field by becoming published authors within 90 days. She's ghostwritten 7 business books, making her clients over 5 million. You can actually get her 5 steps to writing and publishing business books by contacting her directly. I'm going to share all her details in the comments section. I'm really excited to interview Mitali because she's got a really powerful story. She's gone through some adversity herself and really come out the other side. So looking forward to this one. So hi Mitali.
Hello there, Anna. How are you doing?
Good, thanks. I'm really excited to be doing this interview because it's not long ago that we connected, but we were just saying before we were recording that we were chatting for ages, weren't we? We just connected. We were like bouncing ideas off each other.
It was a bit spooky, Anna. if I'm honest, it was a bit spooky, especially when you told me that your best friend in primary school was a Mitali. And I was like, I don't think I've met another Mitali in my whole flipping life. And I'm 42 years old. And then you apparently had a Mitali when you were growing up in primary school. So yeah, there was a lot of when we were talking about our lives, I just felt like there was a lot of connection, a lot of things that we understood about each other. So
yeah, it's really nice. So I'm really super pleased that you're on this podcast. And as you know, your Freedom Podcast, we focus on 3 pillars. Freedom in love, which is a lot of people think is romantic relationships, but actually it's more around self-care and love that you give out into the world. Freedom in money, so financial freedom, and then also freedom in your mind, because I feel that those 3 things of what has helped me kind of get that equilibrium really in my life. And I know you've got a great story to share with us all, and you're doing some super cool stuff right now, helping people get their book out there. And I believe that everybody's got a book in them.
Oh yeah.
I'm sure you feel the same.
Yes.
So how did you get to this point where you were helping people, author books?
Well, it started nearly 5 years ago. So I was a content writer at that point. So that was my very first business. I was writing articles for a number of different websites around the world. And then one of my clients, lovely lady called Jo Barnes, she asked me to come and work with her over in Phuket in Thailand. And the job role was going to be, she's going to teach me how to do copywriting. And I just remember just being so overwhelmed. I was just thinking most people pay to get this kind of tuition, and I'm getting paid to do it. I'm getting paid to go and, fly out to a tropical island, live there and learn copyright. I'm thinking, wow, I can't really say no to this. So that's when I ended up in Thailand, ended up living there for another year after the 1-year contract as well. And during that time, I got into copywriting. Jo taught me everything I know about copywriting. And then I set up my second business, which was doing copywriting for online entrepreneurs, coaches, consultants, service providers, that kind of people. And then one of those clients, so I've always been a very big person who believes that I do believe that things align for you as and when they need to align for you. I'm not sure if I believe in fate, because that's almost like just sitting back and waiting for life to give to you. And I don't think that's how it works. You can't be lazy. You have to, take things. But I do believe in just having these moments of serendipity, like Jo telling me, hey, do you want to come and work for me in Phuket? Then I had one client one of my copywriting clients say, hey, would you like to write a book for me? And I remember thinking, well, I've never written one before. So as long as you have faith in me, but that's the thing. It's all about saying yes. My gut instinct was to say yes, even though my head was saying, what are you talking about, Mitali? You've never written a book before. You write sales pages and landing pages and emails. You don't write books. But this client of mine a wonderful gentleman, a coach, said, look, I have faith in you. You know, you've been working for me for a year. I love how you write my sales pages and my landing pages and blog posts. I think you're up to it. So I said, well, as long as you're willing to give me some time to learn, because this is a new skill, then okay, let's do it. And I did it. And I wrote my first book for him. And then obviously things just snowball from then. So he told a few other people who then hired me to be their ghostwriter. So I've been copywriting and ghostwriting for nearly 5 years. And I've written 7 books for 7 different
Wow.
coaches and consultants. And then this year, I just kind of, it was like a brainwave of just kind of thinking, how do I help? How do I impact more people? And that actually came about because I found a quote from the International Coaching Federation that said 82% of coaches will fail within 2 years. And I just thought that was, heartbreaking because we discussed this in our last conversation. I've had a difficult time in my 20s where I just got into the wrong crowd. I came from a very good family, so I don't have no sob story to tell you, which is the most embarrassing thing. You know, you hear these people have these terrible childhoods, you know, and then they end up, you know, on the streets and that kind of thing. I didn't. I had a great childhood, but somehow because I was just an idiot, I ended up getting.
Sometimes though, I was reading something recently about how children up to the age of, I think it was 11,
Yeah.
the most important thing is their parents and the family of who, you know, they want them to be proud of them and all that. And then once they get over the age of 11, it's their peer group that they want to
I
impress.
think it is. You stop caring about what your parents think. Yeah. And I think it also, for me, coincided with moving from Gateshead, where I was born, to Manchester. So I went over to Manchester to go to university. But typically, I just fell in with the wrong crowd, started dabbling with drugs, and it just didn't. Some people can do the whole dabbling with drugs in university and then come out of it unscathed. I didn't. I came out of it with an addiction problem. And then that spiraled, and then I lost the place that I was living. So I ended up on the streets. So I was in and out of homeless shelters. And then you're meeting all these other people who are just not very good people to be around. And you just get involved into this seedy underbelly of Manchester that I really didn't belong in. I don't think anybody, sadly, really belongs in it.
And I think it's so easy to do, like you said, you know, like, you know, there could be someone listening to this who can totally understand where you're coming from that feels the same. I don't know if you can share how you maybe got out of that, because I think it's a vicious circle sometimes, isn't it? Because it's quite a vicious circle, I think, once you get into something like that.
It is a vicious cycle. It's why I find very difficult walking past homeless people now. I can't help but just try and find a Greg's and just buy them a ton of sausage rolls or something like that, because I think up until that happened to me, you always kind of believe that people are homeless. There was a long process for them to get to where they are, something that took years. It's very difficult unless you've been in that situation to realize how literally most people are only a few months away from being on the streets. Like the average person in the UK probably only has about 3 to 6 months worth of savings. And if they lose their job and they're not covered, say they don't have income cover or that kind of thing, it's about 3 to 6 months from losing your home and being out in the streets. And it's a scary thought. And the only way I came out of it was a team of counselors and coaches and mentors that helped me during that really dark time and come out of it. And yes, I had to put in the work myself. No one can help somebody who doesn't want to help themselves. But it really was all to do with them. And that's why when I saw that statistic this summer, just gone, that 82% of coaches will fail within 2 years, it just kind of broke my heart a little bit. I just thought, but those are the people who really help the world, you know? I've spoken about this in one of my lives, which got a huge reaction. I had a bit of a rant. I was talking about how we're sold all of this stuff online that is meant to transform us, things like makeup and perfume and clothes. And they're temporary transformations at the best. They don't really change who you are inside. And yet coaches and consultants and mentors, they have the ability to really transform you from the inside out.
Yeah.
And those people, 82% of them are failing. And I just thought that's so unfair. And it just made me upset. And I just thought, well, what can I do in my own little way to help those people? And I looked back in my 5-year history of ghostwriting and copywriting, and it really was, the books made such a difference to my clients. They built their business on the back of the book. It was a book that was the catalyst to them going to, they all have 7-figure businesses based in the US now. And I just thought, okay, well, I could, instead of copywriting, I could just solely do ghostwriting. And that way I have more time just to create books. But even then, I can only write 5 books, maybe 6 in a year. I mean, I'm not a robot. I can't just keep writing books. So I figured, well, if I can teach people to write their own books, then I can affect more people. Then I can probably have 50, 60, 70 people in a year writing their own books. And that's so many more people that I can impact them, their lives, their businesses, more than I can on my own, just ghostwriting these books. So that's how the idea came about.
And we were just we were just talking before about how I've been nominated for this entrepreneur competition, and actually my book that in fact I co-authored, so it's not fully mine, it was only a chapter, but that they've mentioned in the feature that they've put out there. So it just shows you how powerful a book is, or co-authoring a book. I'm sure you can explain fully how you believe a book can help people, people who are listening to this who might be thinking, I've always wanted to be an author, or because I think people perceive that, it's just like a monster of a project to do.
Well, I mean, it is in one sense, because when you're comparing it to, for example, a sequence of emails or a blog post, then yes, I'm not going to lie, it's a much bigger endeavor. It's not just go away for an afternoon and come out with a book. Obviously, it's a bigger project. But I think what holds a lot of people back is, it's a self-belief thing. Everyone can say, write a blog post. Everyone can write emails. Everyone can put, a landing page up or a sales page up. But there's this kind of inferiority complex that happens to a lot of people when it comes to being an author. I've spoken to so many coaches and consultants, and it's always like, I think I need to have a few more years experience, or I need to get this qualification. And there's nothing much I can do, because the way I see it is, if you don't believe it in yourself, there's nothing more I can really do. But the truth is, and I'll say this again and again until the cows come home, well, the more money you make, it's not about what you can do, it's about who you are. So there's this belief when you see these celebrity coaches and consultants. I've just finished watching This Morning, by the way, and you get those celebrity TV doctors that are on. So you got Dr. Hillary on, and the one before This Morning, whatever it's called, the one that Piers Morgan's on. And then you've got on This Morning, you've got Dr. Raj, and you've got Dr. Chris. But you look at these people, are they actually any better as a GP than your GP?
No,
I mean, they might be, but you just don't know. The thing is, the reason why they earn what they do is because they're seen as an expert in their field. They've been invited to This Morning, and they're commenting, well, this year they've had an amazing time. They're on there all the time talking about coronavirus. So, they're loving it. So I bet they're secretly loving it. It's like, oh, this is great. We get so much more airtime now. But yeah, they're not actually, are they actually more educated or more knowledgeable about anything than your average GP that you go and see? It's more about who they are. They earn what they do because of who they are, not what they know or what they can do. And that's what I want to convey to a lot of people who are thinking about writing a book, but they're just thinking, oh, I'm not really sure. That's your self-esteem or lack of that's talking to you. You know that you already are good at what you do, because if you are already a coach or consultant, and you've had at least a couple of years experience, you've got happy paying clients, that's, to me, is the litmus test. If you got happy paying clients who are coming back to you again and again, then you know what you are good enough to write a book. But what writing a book will do is put you into that expert status category. So you're no longer just a life coach. You're a life coach who specializes in this and wrote that book. You're no longer just a fitness consultant. It's like, what's that guy? There was a guy who, during the first lockdown, and he became really famous. The nation's PE teacher, he ended up being called.
Oh yes.
You know what I'm talking
I
about.
know. Yeah, and he was doing all the exercise. What's his name?
Yes,
Oh
I've
God, I
forgotten
can't
his
remember
name, and he was now. I mean, he's a great guy, but really, does he know any more fitness than my fitness instructor down the gym? Probably not. He probably has the same level of education, the same understanding of fitness, and yet he's making 10 times more than the average fitness instructor because of who he is, and that's because he is
He's put
somebody.
himself out there.
Yeah,
Exactly.
and one of the
That
best ways,
belief.
yes,
Do
and one
it.
of the best ways to do that is to be a published author, because that's how people get to know you, and that's when you start getting calls from your local radio station or your local TV station, because you've got a book out. They see you as an expert as opposed to just another one in that industry.
Exactly. And I think what it is probably similar when you were saying about when you had the opportunity to write that book. I can't remember which. It was a guy client of yours.
Yeah, it was a client of mine who, yeah.
So well, I think sometimes though we're in that comfortable position, aren't we? And it's moving into uncomfortable. But as long as you say yes and you think I'll find a way to do it, then you just grab those opportunities. But a lot of people get scared when they move from that feeling.
I think you have to just, my biggest thing there is, I will say, feel where the fear is coming from. If the fear is coming in your heart, you should actually move forward. But
Yeah.
if the fear is coming from the pit of your stomach, that is a different fear. That is a danger fear, as in, that's more like, that feeling of, you're walking home at night and you suddenly see a shadow behind you and you feel like you're being followed and you're worried for your own safety. That kind of fear you shouldn't ignore. But the fear in your heart, that is just usually your self-esteem and something stopping you. I've never lived anywhere apart from the UK in my life. I've traveled extensively, but I've never lived anywhere. And it was the scariest thing to close down my content writing business, which I'd spent 2 years building up. So it's a scary thing to do, to close down and then fly over halfway around the world to live on this island and learn copywriting. But I wouldn't be here now if I had said no. And then to this gentleman, to my client, who all I did at that point was copywriting. I'd never written a book in my whole life, but I just thought, well, if he believes in me, I need to believe in myself and just learn how to write a book. And I did. So you've got to get past your comfort zone, because unfortunately, entrepreneurship, having your own business, just isn't for you if you're not willing to do that.
Exactly.
Not for you. And that's not a bad thing. It's not a criticism, but maybe you shouldn't be in it. Maybe you should do something else then.
Got to grab these opportunities.
Absolutely.
And feel a little bit uncomfortable to kind of grow, don't you?
Yeah.
So as I've seen, there's a few people online that can help people write books. And I know we talked about this previously, but how, your offering and how you can support people and sort of coach them through that process, how is that different to maybe other people around? What is it that's special about Mitali's
So what's special about this is, it's, first of all, it is a book mentoring program. So it teaches you how to plan and write a book in a specific way. So the books that I've written, the 7 books that I've written for my clients, they're like a 50-50 split between being full of education and knowledge and tips and strategies, because it needs to be, but also it's 50% all about selling them who they are. Remember that important thing, it's about who you are, not what you can do a lot of the times, and selling their business, and it's getting that right balance. If you have just education and knowledge, it can feel dry, it can sound a bit like a university textbook, and also it doesn't sell you, because that's essentially, this isn't what I don't do, is book projects that are basically vanity projects. What my aim is for all of my students to be able to use the book to take their business to the next level. So usually if they're earning 5 figures, I want them to hit 6 figures, but ideally I want them eventually to hit 7 figures, because all 7 of my clients have 7-figure businesses in the US. So that's where, as long as they leverage the book, that's where it goes. What the key point of difference is, I've seen a lot of book mentors where they teach people to write a book, which is wonderful. I mean, the clue's in the name. They're a book coach or a book mentor. That's all they're meant to do, is teach you how to write a book. But what they don't do is they don't really tell you what to do with the book afterwards. And
Yeah.
that is the key thing.
And that was what I was going to ask you. That was going to be my second question. Like, what do people? Okay, you've kind of put yourself out there as an expert by writing a book, or because being an author is kind of seen as that prestigious platform, isn't it? But
Yeah.
how can what can people do with it afterwards? That was what I was going to say. So you do all that in your
Yes,
program.
that's the key thing because otherwise, ultimately, you've just got a nice shiny book at the end of it, And I want to be quite clear to all of your listeners. It's not like I wrote a book for my clients, handed it over to them, they published it, and suddenly they hit 7 figures. The world doesn't work that way, Then everyone would just write a book. If literally just writing a book meant there you go, you're suddenly rich. That's not how it works. What they did really well, all 7 of my clients, is they took the book that I wrote them and they leveraged the book. And there's so many different ways of leveraging the book, but they leverage it to really build that celebrity status, to become seen as, the go-to person in their field, whether that's locally, and some of them have now even gone nationally because they built up to that national stage as well. So that's part of the program. What I do is, yes, I teach you how to write a book. I also professionally edit and publish the book myself. So that way it's done to a professional standard. But then what we also work on is a marketing plan. So exactly what you're going to do when you leave the program to leverage the book. Because otherwise you do just have a nice shiny book and your mother's really proud of you, but that's not going to get your business to where you want it to get to. I want this to be a really practical thing that you do for your business. And I think the biggest issue I've had, because I've spoken to a lot of coaches and consultants who have written books, the biggest thing that always comes back is, well, yeah, I wrote a book, but it didn't really do what I needed it to do for me. And when you peel back the layers, it's because no one told them what to do with it. They kind of maybe sent a few emails to a few local radio shows and they didn't hear anything back. And then they just thought, oh, okay, that's it. And it's like, that's not how it works. You have to be more pragmatic about this sort of thing. So, I mean, I will be here all day if I went through all the different.
Exactly. But it's good that you've got that as part of your offering and your whole program to help people.
I think it's
like
really,
you say,
really
it's
important.
more to just doing the book, isn't it? Do people have like a set period of time to do the book in? So you actually get them to complete it? Because I think that's another thing, isn't it? People start these projects with all the will in the world to finish it or complete it. And sometimes as coaches, we've got to nag people to kind of get it done.
Well, I'm a big believer in getting it done fast. I'm a big believer in that. So the program is 90 days, but it's actually less than 90 days. You have 60 days to write the book, because the final 30 days, I take the manuscript and I edit and publish it to a professional standard. So it's a 60-day writing program, which does scare a lot of people because it's just like 60 days. That doesn't seem like very many days to write a book. But in my experience, the longer you take, the worse your book gets. It's not something that actually builds over time and gets better. I'm not speaking for novels and creative writing. That's not something I do. So I don't want to speak for that. So if you're thinking of writing a memoir or an autobiography, or you're writing a story, then possibly taking more time over it makes it better. But when it comes to writing business books, establishing you as an expert in your field, you already know what's already in your head. You've got happy clients paying you. So you know what works. You spending 6 months, a year, 2 years isn't going to suddenly create this masterpiece. What it is going to do is just exasperate you. You're going to self-edit yourself. You're going to second guess yourself. And you're just going to rewrite the book about 10 flipping times or more. That's what you're going to do. And I've spoken to people who've taken 3-4 years to write a book and they still weren't happy with it when they finally published it. So it's a case of, I teach it in such a way that, put it this way, I've got 5 students going through my program right now. 3 of them are on target, 2 are 1 week ahead.
That's good.
And they're doing it. They can do it. So,
and I think it's good because, like you say, I think that's what puts some people off. It's going to take you ages. So if you've got a strict sort of timeline, then you know that you've got to get this stuff done. And you know that it's like really within a quarter of the year, you've got a book, haven't you, altogether? So
And they will get it done because, I mean, first of all, the major thing is within the first week, they have a full book outline. That's the big thing. They will spend one day with me and my business partner, who's also a book coach, Colette, and they will spend a whole day with us on Zoom, where we literally just get the full book outline out. So we know exactly what the chapters are going to be, all the topics inside of each chapter. That's the biggest thing, because what a lot of people, I find with a lot of people, they have all this expertise in their head, but it's all like a jumbled mess. And it's all like, how do you get all of that out into some sort of structured sense, I guess is the word. And that's the biggest thing. Once you have that, then you'll be amazed how, because you kind of just look at it and just go, I just need to write this bit, then I need to write that bit. And it starts, I almost say it starts to write itself. The bit that really is the most difficult thing for a lot of people is they tend to start with a book, is I'll just start writing this chapter. And then they'll think about what the next chapter should be. And then the next, it's like, no, you plan the whole thing first without even writing a word. You plan the whole thing first. So you know exactly what's going to be in chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, what's going to be in your summary. You know everything. Then you go back and you start writing it. But then the other tip I would say, and this is for anybody who's wanting to do it on their own, is don't write. I know it sounds really strange because I'm a writer, but don't write. It's better to dictate. There's a ton of great transcription services out there. Once you've got your book outline, you don't even need to stick to things, you know, like do chapter 1, then chapter 2, then chapter 3. You can literally move around depending on what your vibe is that day. And you can just do sections of the book when you, as and when you want to do it. But if you dictate, first of all, it's faster. The average person speaks around 200 to 250 words per minute, but the average person types about 40 to 45 words a minute. So there's a huge difference there.
Big difference.
Even touch typists, you're looking at about 90 to 100 words per minute. And those are those strange people where you don't even see their fingers. You know what I'm talking about. Their fingers are moving so fast, you're thinking, how are you even doing that? Even they don't go over 100 words per minute. So it's a lot faster. But secondly, and this is the most important one, when you're typing, you can't help it but self-edit, because you can see the words as you type. So you type something and then you'll go, oh, this is a better word. I'll go back. Oh, I missed I missed a full stop there. Oh, that should have been in quotes. Let me put the quote marks in. You can't help but do that because you physically can see what you're doing as you're doing it. When you're dictating, you speak and it's gone. You can't see it. You physically can't see the words. And because of that, it stops you from going back and editing and re-editing.
Actually, that must speed the whole process up, mustn't it? Because I've done that so many times, even just on like social media posts or emails, or I'm going back and rereading it, and like it seems to take me out.
You can't help it because if you see something and you see where it's gone wrong and you want to, of course you're not going to go, I'll come back to that, because then you'll think, oh, I'll forget to come back to that. So then you do it there and then. But that stopping and starting is what takes people years to write a book. Whereas when you dictate, it's just gone. You dictate, it's gone to the transcription service, and they're going to transcribe it for you. Once you then have finished your whole book, you get all the transcriptions back, lay it all out into the format of your book outline. And that's when I teach you to do a full developmental edit. So that's when you read through the whole thing and make sure it all makes sense. That's when you can do the whole, oh, this word would be better. Oh, this is why I need to put this in. Oh, I've repeated myself over here. I can get rid of this. That's the time to edit. What most people, the biggest mistake people make is they're writing and editing their book at the same time. And it's a recipe for disaster. They need to, it's like shampoo and conditioner. Do you remember in the 80s? Don't you take shampoo and conditioner? Don't they take 2 bottles into the shower? Oh my God, they were horrible. They used to.
It never really cleaned your hair properly at all.
Those are 2 steps that should never be mixed together. One shampoos cleans your hair and the other one conditions it. You can't do those 2 things at the same time.
That's a really good analogy. I love
and
that.
It's the same thing with writing and editing. You can't do it at the same time. They have to be completely separated out. You follow that, and I'm telling you, 60 days, you might
That's
even.
A really good tip. That's a really good tip for people listening who kind of maybe, like you say, want to do it themselves or.
Absolutely. Take that tip and run with it. They'll work. Trust me.
So I know you've got some exciting stuff coming next year. Do you want to share like how can people find out more? Because I think you from speaking to you previously, I think you just make it a lot simpler, the whole process.
I do. I genuinely believe, I'm not going to say writing a book is simple, because that's just lying. It's not simple. It's still writing a book, and it involves effort and time from someone who wants to take on that project. But I do believe what I've created with Colette, it's the simplest you're going to find it. It's the simplest way, as simple as we can possibly make it for you to be a published author. Because we also do all the full, once you've done your developmental editing, we'll also do the full editing, proofreading, and publishing to a professional standard. Because that's the other thing where people trip up. They write something amazing, and then they think, oh, well, I'll just be able to upload it onto Amazon and it will all look great. And no, it doesn't. And that's why you say, yeah, I'm sure you've seen those books.
Amazon, geez.
Yeah, I'm sure you've seen them.
We're rejecting it, and it just wouldn't line up properly.
It's you just want to tear your hair out. It needs to line up properly. And the sad thing is, even after Amazon have approved it, you have to remember it's not a person that approves it. It's some sort of bot that they've got, some sort of algorithm. So still mistakes have gone through. So that's why I've seen books out there that have been published where, for example, the next chapter starts halfway down a page, or they don't have a copyright page, or they've done a bibliography, but it's not set out in the correct way. You have to remember, your book, you're not just writing it. I've said this before earlier. It's not a vanity project. You're doing it because you want it to take your business to the next level. The only way it's going to do that is if it looks like it's come from a major publishing house.
Exactly.
It needs to look just as good. No, cutting corners or anything like that. It needs to look the business, basically.
Yeah.
So we do all of that for you, so there can be no mistakes made.
So if people want to find out more, where do they need to go to?
Well, I've got my first book that I've written with my name on it, because I've obviously written 7 books, but it's quite nerve-wracking. I've got my 8th book, but first one with my name on it, is going to come out early January. So that's called the Freedom Masterplan. And it's all about, and that's why I think we got on so well, because you've got freedom in your business as well. So I was like, oh my God, we're actually using the same words as well. But yeah, it basically chronicles the stories of my 7 clients and what they did with their book to gain freedom in their lives. So freedom from, the cap of earnings that they had, so taking their business to the next level, but also freedom from things like bad clients. I think we've all got them, clients that we put up with. Well, they don't need to put up with bad clients anymore, because there's all these good clients that they can have. Freedom from sales and marketing. Lots of coaches and consultants don't like sales and marketing. I know I don't. So it's all about how my clients leverage their book to gain freedom in their business. So that's coming out next year. So if anyone wants more information about that, they can go to www.thefreedommasterplan.com. And they can, and actually I'm doing a really, really good, in the next few days, there's going to be a wonderful PDF resource there where they can download the 5 steps to writing and publishing a book. So literally 5 steps. So like I said,
we'll put that link in the notes. We'll put that link in the show notes. So everyone that wants that, you can have a look in the show notes if you're on iTunes, or in the comments if you're watching it on YouTube, and it will all be in there. And what about your helping them? If someone was like, yeah, I'm in, I need to write my book next year, how?
Just get in contact with me. If you can put my details in, just contact me and let's talk, because I'm looking at new students from January onwards. So I've got a few people who've already said yes. So yeah, I'm just wanting to, I'm wanting to help as many people as possible. So if you're a coach or consultant and you want help to write your own book, just get in touch with me.
Brilliant. So I always ask everybody at the end of our interview, we've got too many freedoms in this: Freedom Masterplan, Freedom Podcast, Freedom.
We both like the word freedom, don't we?
But ultimately, that word is what kind of gives us more time when we have got freedom. And like we were saying earlier, that a lot of business owners set out to create freedom in their life, but then end up becoming busy fools in a way, because they love the business and they spend every hour and they've hardly got any time. So it's important to, the Freedom Masterplan sounds a really good read, to be able to just structure it so that you can maximize your time and get your business working for you rather than you working in your business all the time. So freedom, what does freedom mean to you, to Mitali, in a sentence or a couple of sentences?
Wow, in a sentence, gosh,
Maybe a couple of sentences. I don't want to be straight to one.
I'll try and keep this short then. I'm not sure it'll be just a sentence. But freedom to me is, for me, it really is all about being able to choose I'm going to sound a bit morose here, but we have a limited amount of time on this planet. Most of us live to 80, 90 if we're lucky, maybe. Do you know what I mean? It's a limited amount of time we have. And I want to spend it doing and seeing the people that I want to spend time with, but also doing what I want to do. And most people, you start a new business. I just started my business to have freedom, to be able to work with who I want to work with, to create my own hours. And ironically, what we end up doing is we end up working with clients that we don't want to work with, but they pay the bills. And we end up working a lot longer and a lot harder than we ever did for any boss, the opposite of what we started our own business for. And that, I meet so many entrepreneurs who are in that situation. And it just makes me feel sad, because I just think, you are working hard. You wouldn't ask your own employees to work as hard as you do for your business. And freedom for me is, it's just being able to live that life with purpose, but just being able to have fun, and that's what I hope I'm able to do for people now. Once they become a published author, and after all, they need to leverage the book as well. But as long as they leverage the book correctly, they'll find that they can earn more, they can actually work less, and they can actually work with the people that they want to work with rather than the people that they have to work with. And that's all it is, really. I know some people think of freedom as like a tropical island. For me, it doesn't really matter where you live. It's more about just, do you have the freedom to choose what you want to do from one day to the next?
Exactly. Brilliant, inspiring stuff. I really appreciate you giving us the time, and also sort of sharing the vulnerable part of your story in your younger days, where you got through all of that addiction and came out the other side. And now really want to thank you for helping people like you are with writing their book. So if anyone that's listening to this has got inspired and does feel like they've got a book in them, I'll put all Mitali's details in the show notes, and just get in touch with her, and she will help you get your book sorted in 90 days. And of course, if you want to read her Freedom Masterplan, which is going to be out in January, go to freedommasterplan.com, I think it was.
That's it.
So thanks ever so much, Mitali. I look forward to kind of doing some more cool stuff with you in 2021.
Yes.
But thanks for your time.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Thanks.
Hey, thank you for listening. Hope you had a blast. Here to elevate your life. It's the Freedom Podcast. Love, money, mind. Love, money, mind. Wanna see you all win. Wanna see you all shine. Just make sure that you subscribe. Bringing good vibes. Join the Facebook group. Now it's time to change your life. Hope you come back. Right now is the chance. This is an experience. It's the Freedom Podcast. Hey.